After 18 races, we are now finally at the final race of Season 4. Hey there guys, it's JWF1 here and welcome to round number 19 of the Season 4 IFMC Championship, the last race of the Season 4 Championship. And we are here at the Adelaide Street Circuit for the Pacific Grand Prix. The first time IFMC has been to Adelaide. We started in Australia and we're ending in Australia as well. So welcome then guys. If you didn't see what happened last week at the Abu Dhabi Grand Prix, it was quite interesting for some of the teams as well. In the end though, Lewis Hamilton managed to grab the win, and on top of that as well, managed to wrap up his first World Championship. So both championships have now been settled with. Lewis Hamilton ended Fernando Alonso's streak of titles by taking his first World Championship last time out in Abu Dhabi. And on top of that as well, we also have Alonso finished second with Perez in third position. But there were a few battles in the championship that still had to get to be decided. First of all, a battle for second in the constructors between EMR, Eldorado and Bud Light Lime. EMR do have the advantage, so it's pretty much theirs to lose, but mainly it's a fight for third between Eldorado and Bud Light Lime. As well, there's a battle for fifth in the constructors between Suomi and GRM that need to get decided, and there are a few championships in the Drivers' Championship, a few battles in the Drivers' Championship as well. Before we start then guys, there's only one qualifying ban to report on. Pascal Wehrlein received a qualifying ban for causing the crash with Sebastian Vettel at the start of Abu Dhabi last week, so only 21 cars will be taking part, and a couple of livery changes as well. Only a slight tweak for Eldorado to commemorate the fact that this is Sergio Perez's last race at Eldorado, and also as well, Etihad bring a special livery as well to commemorate the fact that this is Alonso's final race in IFMC. So, bright and sunny conditions here at Adelaide, so I think without further ado, let's get to the final qualifying session of the Season 4 Championship. So, here we are then in the pit lane. Wehrlein's obviously going to be watching it from the sidelines, and we're going to go to the end of the pit lane with, I believe it is Felipe Massa that's at the end of the pit lane. We'll have another check just to see. And yes it is, so we will wait and get this session underway. A 35-minute session as per usual, as we wait for the set of cars to come out onto the track for this final qualifying session. And of course, as mentioned, a couple of tweaks in terms of the livery. You'll see them in a little bit. So we've got the first car coming out on the track. That looks to be a Suomi that's coming out on the track. It is, and it is Kevin Magnussen. So Magnussen, the first man out on track here at Adelaide, as Magnussen just comes out of the track now then, as he goes around turn 3 now then. So Magnussen, the first man out on track here at Adelaide, as he just goes around the right-hander and then into the left and then into the right-hander. So for those of you that don't particularly know what Adelaide is or what the track looks like, of course it was the Australian Grand Prix before Melbourne was around in 1996. It did play host to a few championship finales, including the 1994 one where Michael Schumacher controversially won his first World Championship at after the contact with Damon Hill. We'd already passed the corner where that contact happened, so a little bit of history there. But Magnus is out, as is Alonso. Here's the special livery for Etihad. It's in the colours of Fernando Alonso's helmet, as this is the final race of Alonso's IFMC career before he moves to IndyCar for the upcoming season. And Alonso would want to end his IFMC career on a high as he now makes his way around these final few turns. Ricciardo out there as well in his final race for GM before he moves to Etihad next season. Brendan Hartley out there as well, as is Stoffel Vandoorne, Valtteri Bottas, and they've got a little bit of a note on the side as well which says Gracias Checo on the side of the front nose cone there, lot, as it is Sergio's last race for Eldorado, and they wanted that on the car for this weekend. Charles Leclerc out on track, as is Felipe Massa, Nico Hülkenberg, Max Verstappen, Sergio Perez, who's entering his final race for Eldorado, Sainz, Giovinazzi, and that's it. So they're the guys currently out there at the moment. Magnussen, as I think, has already passed Sector 1 at the moment, as he now comes down the hill towards the flat-out right-hander. This is where Mika Hakkinen had his near fatal accident back in 1995, some 23 years ago. If you haven't seen what that crash looks like, it is up on YouTube. A very nasty accident for Mika Hakkinen, as now into the hairpin then goes Kevin Magnussen, as he will now approach the final few turns on the track, and he'll be the one setting the benchmark of time for everybody to beat, as he just comes out of the left-hander now then up towards the final 2 turns goes Kevin Magnussen. And let's see what he's able to do then on this lap as he goes down the pitch straight. Lap times around about what you see in the Red Bull Ring, but let's see then. Magnussen across the line. It's a 1 minute 5.828 for Magnussen. Alonso beats it though, so Alonso goes to the top of the timing sheets. Here comes Daniel Ricciardo out on track. What can he manage? And he goes fastest, so he beats Fernando to the post. Hartley goes fourth, and then it's fourth for Van Dorn. Let's have a look at Valtteri Bottas in the Eldorado as the Finn now then crosses the line, and it's third place for Valtteri Bottas. So that's that for him. Charles Leclerc goes third in the shadow, so P3 for him at the moment, P7 for Felipe Massa, P8 only for Nico Hulkenberg on that lap. Here comes Max Verstappen, P3 for the Martini, so a good time for Verstappen to get himself into the top 3. Here comes Sergio Perez, P6 for Checo, so a reasonable time for him. Here comes Carlos Sainz Jr. and he goes third fastest for the moment, so the Shadow's showing some signs of good improvement since they had at Korea, and both Leclerc and Sainz doing a good job in this session. Here comes Antonio Giovinazzi in the Bud Light line. He struggled last time out in Abu Dhabi and he goes 7th fastest for the moment, so P7 for the Italian. This is his final race at Bud Light line as he is moving to Martini Motorsport next season, and hoping to do a good job alongside Max Verstappen next season. It's Ocon's last race for Martini. He'll be hoping to do well if he can, as all these guys are coming back into the pits. But at the moment it is currently Ricciardo that is fastest at the moment, with I believe it is Alonso that's currently second at this stage. We'll try and find somebody who's in the top 5. That will be Charles Leclerc at the moment, but let's see if he's able to pick up who is in second place at the moment, as now Leclerc will go back into his box as we have just over half an hour of the session remaining. And let's have a look then. So it is Ricciardo from Alonso, I would think, Sainz, Verstappen and Leclerc. So both Shadows doing a good job in this session, but we've still got at least a few more cars to do a lap. And we've already got some cars coming out now in the form of Jones and Grosjean. So they're coming out on track. A bit of an awkward pit exit, it must be said. It comes out right towards the first corner. So it'd be very interesting to see how people cope when coming out of the pit lane at that point. But hopefully it's not going to be too much of an issue. As Grosjean now then goes around the left-hander and then in towards the corner where Michael Schumacher controversially won his 1994 World Championship some 24 years ago, and where he kind of went off at the left-hander, damaged the suspension and turned in as possibly a last-minute effort to try and stop Hill from winning the championship. Whether it was deliberate or not, I don't think we'll ever know. So that's that really. The only thing Michael's ever admitted to doing on purpose was the one in 1997 with Jacques Villeneuve at the ref, but he's never really admitted that this one was done on purpose. So I don't think, considering that he's currently being he's currently in a bit of a state at the moment after his skiing accident, we'll probably never know if the accident in Adelaide was on purpose or not, but I guess it's one of the things with motorsport, one of the mysteries we'll never know. But Jones now starts his lap as he comes down towards turns 1, 2 and 3 on the track. We could see some action down in those corners, especially at the start of the race. Overtaking opportunities I would expect to possibly come at the hairpin towards the last sector. So we'll show you where that hairpin is in a little bit. But Jones now then flicking the car in through the right-hander as he uses a tad bit of curb on the outside as he now goes through the left and right-hander into another right-hander he goes as he goes down the hill towards the flat-out right-hander. This is more of a curve, as people have put it on this mod, rather than like a quick chicane as it is in real life. This is the hairpin I'm talking about, where most opportunities of overtaking are possibly going to come from during the race. Having tested this track before, I did see a few overtakes being done down at this hairpin, and so we could expect that during this race. As through the left-hander goes Ed Jones as he now goes up towards the final 2 corners on the track. Now then, let's see where Jones can manage then in his final race for Mars Grand Prix. It has been confirmed that Jones will not be retained by the team next season. We knew that Dixon was going off to British Airways Racing next season. 14th for Jones, as it's only 10th for Grosjean. Looked like he got held up massively by Ed Jones on that lap, as we'll look at Ocon, who's currently on a lap. But as I was mentioning, Jones is not going to get retained by Mars Grand Prix next season. Instead, Martini Motorsport are going to be loaning out George Russell to the next season. So coincidentally, the 2 drivers that paired up for GP2 this season, Felix Rosenqvist and George Russell, will be teammates in the top class of Mars Grand Prix next season when the team opts with Ferrari engines next season. Ocon goes 6th with that lap, as it's 13th only for Raikkonen, 17th only for Vettel, like he got held up on his lap, so not a good first lap for Sebastian Vettel, and looking to try and improve it a little bit if he can. Now then, here comes Verne coming out of the final turn himself in his final race for GRM. As he now comes out the final corner. He's had a woeful lap, only 19th. Must have made a mistake somewhere on his lap. Still 5th for Leclerc, as it's only 15th still for Nico Hulkenberg at the moment. So both EMRs not really putting in a good performance at the moment at this stage of the qualifying session. And probably looking to try and get a break if they can. Still 16th for Hartley, 21st for Dixon. Only 18th for Hamilton. So not a good first lap for Lewis Hamilton, it must be said. Only P18 for the Brit. And, well, not a good first lap for the newly crowned champion. As I don't know if he got held up there on his lap, but we'll wait and see if there'll be more improvement to come out of them a little bit later on. Here comes Magnussen coming out of the final turn as he'll head down the pit straight, and Magnussen now then crosses the line and improves but remains in 10th position. So he's still within the cusp of the top 10 at this stage of qualifying. So, but a lot of surprises going on. Look like maybe a lot of people got held up on their laps there. Like Hamilton might have got a little bit held up by Dixon on his first flying lap. So whether we'll still yet to see the actual raw pace of Hamilton in a little bit, we'll have to wait and see on that. Here's Massa now then as he makes his way round the left-hander and using a tad bit of curb on the outside there. Then Magnussen will approach the flat-out right-hander, and he'll soon approach the hairpin on the track. And of course, just a reminder, of course, there will be a tribute video for Fernando Alonso after the podium ceremony tomorrow, of course, via the request of Etihad Racing. So be aware of that, as now Kevin Magnussen rounds the left-hander, as he'll be heading back into the pits this time by. As Magnussen now then goes into pit lane, and he just goes around the right-hander with just over 25 minutes of this qualifying session remaining to determine the grid for tomorrow's Pacific Grand Prix, the final race of the Season 4 IFMC Championship, as a few more cars are going out on the track at the minute. As Ricciardo, the current pole sitter, is now out on the track as he looks to try and end his final race with GRM on a high, as he will be moving to Etihad Racing next season. He'll be hoping to try and give GRM 5th in the Constructors' Championship and hopes to finish 3rd in the Drivers, currently in a fight with Nico Hulkenberg for that place at this stage. And next season, of course, a brand new lineup for GRM in the form of Esteban Ocon, who's moving from Martini, and of course the last two season. What am I trying to say? Season 3 IFMC GP3 runner-up Will Power will be joining the team next season as well, alongside Esteban Ocon on a loan deal from Eldorado. So it will be very interesting to see how that one fares. As now Ricciardo is about to start his lap, as he will now approach the final corner on the track now. Then as he makes his way around the hairpin and down this pit straight he goes. And Ricciardo now then heading down towards the first 3 turns on the track, through the left, then the right, and then into turn 3 he will go, as he will now approach turn 4, and very quick at the moment, as he will now make his way into turn 5, and now up towards turn 6, where Schumacher had his controversial moment where he won his first World Championship, as now into turn 7, 8, and then into turn 9 we will go. As now Ricciardo heads down the hill using a lot of curb on the outside as he makes his way around this right-hander and hoping to do it in front of his home fans, of course. This is the second home race he's got, and so far doing the home fans proud by currently sticking his car on pole position. But can he improve on his current pole time as he now goes into the hairpin, and into the final few turns then goes Daniel Ricciardo. Is this going to be an improvement for the Australian as he makes his way around the final few turns? Up towards the final corner goes Daniel Ricciardo, and let's see what he is able to do as he heads down the pit straight now. Then Ricciardo across the line. Is this going to be an improvement? It isn't. He doesn't improve by 0.3 of a second, so still remains on 1 minute 5 dead at the moment. Valtteri Bottas crosses the line, improves, but remains in 8th position. Only improved by 9 thousandths of a second. Perez remains in 10th position. In fact, I think Bottas has actually got up to 8th, so I do apologise for that. Grosjean across the line remains 12th for the moment. Ocon starts a lap as it's still second for Alonso, unable to beat Ricciardo at this stage. Still 14th for Raikkonen, still 18th for Verne, still 3rd for Sainz. He's doing a good job in this session, must be said. Here comes Max Verstappen, who missed out on a podium last time out in Abu Dhabi. Let's see what he can do on this lap now then as he approaches the final turn, and this is the last race Martini will have with Ferrari engines. It's unknown what engine they'll go for next season, but hopefully we'll get some news during the off season. Verstappen improves but remains in 4th at this stage. Van Dorn up to 11th he goes, so an improvement there then for Stoffel Van Dorn. Dixon about to start a lap. Here's Jones. Looks like his lap might have been compromised by Daniel Ricciardo going past him, as now around the final few turns then goes the Emiratti's driver, and let's see what sort of time Jones can post as he goes down the pit straight, and across the line he will go, and he remains 20th with that lap, still being outpaced by, well, I think he's currently outpacing Dixon at the moment. Dixon currently 21st at this stage. Dixon entering his final race for Mars before moving to Monster Grand Prix when they rebrand to British Airways Racing next season, and it has been confirmed that the team will be retaining Mercedes engines for next season, so the team will still be powered by Merc engines. So next season we're going to see 4 teams run the Mercedes engine next season, as it's still 7th for Ocon on that lap. No improvement for the Frenchman, as I try and look to see if anybody else is on lap. Dixon's currently on 1 and he's on an improvement as he's going quicker than his personal best by over a second at the moment, so a big improvement looks like it's coming the way of Scott Dixon as he now just goes through the left-hander into the final few turns. Then goes the Kiwi, and let's see what Dixon is able to do as he rounds the final turn and onto the pit straight he will go. Scott Dixon now then, is this going to be an improvement for the Kiwi? It is. He goes up to 20th, so he outpaces his teammate Ed Jones for the moment. Vettel comes out on the track, giving Dixon a bit of space as he comes out on the track at the moment. Both EMRs outside the top 10 at the moment, like they got held up on their flying lap, so they're looking to try and see if they can improve at this stage. In fact, also the likes of Hamilton looks to try and improve as well, along with these two. Magnussen coming out on the track at the moment, so a few more cars will be coming out at this stage, including Hamilton. He's all the way down in 19th at the moment, the newly crowned champion, all the way down the field at the moment, but he'll be looking to improve on that if he can as he comes out of pit lane at this point. So out of the track then goes Lewis Hamilton, and so that's that for him really, as Dixon's coming back into the pit, so Vettel shouldn't worry too much about him as he'll be about to start his next flying lap, of course. And Vettel looking to try and see if he can grab 5th in the Drivers' Championship by the end of the race. Of course, he still has a chance of getting that after what has been quite an up and down season for the German, being rigged with reliability problems during the season, and that's why so far Hulkenberg has beat him so far in this season's Drivers' Championship, and in Hulkenberg's first season at EMR. But Vettel starts a lap now then as he goes around turns 1, 2 and 3 on the track, then getting the car quickly turned into those sets of corners. Round turn 3 he goes, Vettel pushing very hard to try and improve on what is currently, I think, 17th at the moment. Yes, it is 17th for Sebastian Vettel as he now goes around the right-hander, uses the curb on the outside as he now makes his way around these turns 8 and then into turn 9 goes Vettel. Heading down the hill he goes before approaching the flat out right-hander he goes, just getting the car and just has enough downforce to go out of that turn, and now up towards the hairpin where we'll probably see a lot of overtaking being done around this track. Now then, up towards the hairpin goes Sebastian Vettel as he will soon approach the final few turns on the track. Now then, let's see what Vettel can manage on this lap. Round the left-hander and then up towards the final 3 turns then goes Sebastian Vettel. And let's see if this is going to be an improvement upon 17th place. Round the final turn and onto the pit straight goes Sebastian Vettel. Across the line goes the German, and he improves to go up to 4th. So a big improvement for Vettel. It's P4 for the German now then. So exactly what he needed as Giovinazzi starts his lap, as will Bottas, as will Alonso and Sainz. Here's Hamilton then, looking to improve upon 19th. He's got some clear track in front of him, so let's see if Hamilton can improve on his 19th place as he rounds the final 2 turns on the track. Into the final corner and onto the pit straight goes Lewis Hamilton, the newly crowned champion now then. He's going to come across the line. He goes up to 2nd, so he beats his teammate to go onto the front row. So that's P2 for Lewis Hamilton, but isn't able to beat his next season's teammate, Daniel Ricciardo. So that's at the moment. Here comes Leclerc, currently 7th. Can the Monegasque improve in his final race for Shadow? Across the line, and he doesn't. He remains 7th, way off his personal best. Looked like he might have got held up on his lap. Ricciardo starts the lap, an improvement for Hartley. That's 14th for the Kiwi in his final race before he moves to IFMC GP3 next season with Willows Racing. Here comes Felipe Massa, currently 8th, and he improves but remains P8 for the moment in this session. Here's Giovinazzi. Can he try and get the Bud Light Lime into the top 10 now then? as Bullard Line look to try and grab third from Eldorado in the Constructors' Championship. Across the line then goes the Italian, and he improves to go up to 9th. So Giovinazzi gets into the top 10. That's P9 for Giovinazzi at this stage. Bottas crosses the line and goes up to 6th. A big improvement for the Finn. That's P6 for Valtteri Bottas. Looks like Eldorado's finally found some pace in the car. Still 3rd for Alonso, unable to beat his teammate. Still 4th for Sainz, who's doing a good job in this session at the moment. There's Van Dorn about to start a lap in this session. And we look at Ricciardo now then, who's looking to improve on his current pole time as he now makes his way round through these final few turns on the track. Let's see what Ricciardo can manage. Into the final corner and onto the pit straight goes Daniel Ricciardo, as the Australian now then crosses the line, and he doesn't improve. There's on 1 minute 5.079 at the moment in this session, so no improvement there then for Danny Rick, as Perez is about to start a lap and looks like Alonso is going to overtake him. This is where possibly one of the overtaking places are going to happen, as you can see from a demonstration from Alonso, as he just gets past him into the hairpin there then. So that's possibly where some of the overtaking can be done. Checo looking to do a good job in his final outing for Eldorado before moving to Bud Light Lime next season, where he'll probably partner more likely alongside Romain Grosjean. It hasn't been confirmed yet, but it does look like it's more likely it's going to be Grosjean he's going to partner alongside next season. And so coming down the pit straight now then goes Sergio Perez, as he will now make his way down into the first few turns on the track. Grosjean's also come out, but he's not on a lap, as Perez now looking to improve upon 12th. His teammates up in 6th place at the moment, so Valtteri doing a good job in this session, as now Perez just goes around this 90-degree left-hander into these next section of corners. He will go, as he will now go around the swooping left and right-hander into the into turn 9. He goes, heading down the hill before approaching the flat-out right-hander on the track, as now up towards the hairpin he goes. And how many minutes we've got to go left in the session? We have just over 15 minutes of this qualifying session remaining to determine the grid for tomorrow's Pacific Grand Prix here at Adelaide. And hopefully we're going to give the Season 4 Championship and the last race for the V10 engines, of course. It is the last race for the V10 engines, as we will be moving to V12s next season. It won't be the last time you see the V10s, of course. They will still be in GP2, and of course these drivers will still be using the V10s next weekend for the end of season test at Abu Dhabi. But it will be the last race weekend for the V10s in the top class, as it's still 12th for Perez. No improvement for the Mexican at this stage. So that's that for him, really. And of course next season the top class is moving to the V12s next season, and I hope of trying to mix up the pecking order if we can, of course. Whether it will affect the pecking order, of course, whether Etihad's dominance will be stopped next season, we will wait and see, as Perez now then currently in 12th position, as Vettel's now out on the track. A few cars actually came out at that point. I don't know if anybody's doing laps at the moment. Grosjean is, we forgot about him, so Romain Grosjean now then up towards the hairpin. Then goes the Frenchman. He's currently down in 17th place, but he's currently improving on in the middle sector there, so he's improving on his personal best according to the middle sector that time by. Grosjean now then up towards the final 3 turns. Let's see what the Frenchman can manage, as he'll go up now then towards the hairpin. And let's see what the Frenchman can manage then, as he will soon cross the line. And he improves to go up to 9th, so he gets himself into the top 10. So I think so far both Bud Light Limes locking out row 5 at the moment, with 9th and 10th. Grosjean currently outpacing teammate Giovinazzi at the moment. Here comes Raikkonen now then. Suomi obviously confirming the other day that they will be retaining Ferrari engines next season. So they will be continuing their partnership with Ferrari. But they're hoping they can hold on to 5th in the Constructors with their battle with GRM. But at the moment GRM just seems to have the edge on Suomi at the moment. Across the line goes Raikkonen, and he improves but remains 14th. So Suomi have been recently struggling, it seems, at the moment. So not good for the Finnish team at the moment. Still 21st for Jones, no improvement for him. As Leclerc starts lap, still 12th for Ocon, still 20th for Dixon, still 19th for Verne, but he improves at the moment. Look like Dixon held up a little bit more potential coming out of his car. Here comes Hamilton. Can he try and snatch pole off Ricciardo? Nope, remains second with that lap there then. As Hulkenberg starts his lap, hoping to improve upon 18th if he can. Kevin Magnussen across the line goes up to 14th, so gets in front of teammate Raikkonen. So Magnussen currently outpacing his teammate at this stage, as he tries everything in the hopes of trying to retain his seat for next season. So he's still yet to confirm a second driver. We thought initially they could have been looking at Russell, but Russell has now been loaned out to Mars Grand Prix for next season, so that's now out of the question. So They did say they do have other options, but you're struggling to figure out what other options that could be. So who knows? Will Magnussen stay next season? Will they find somebody else to take him next season? To partner alongside Raikkonen next season? Who knows? Meantime, Vettel coming around the final turn. Can he improve upon his 5th place? Across the line goes the German, and he goes up to 4th. So P4 for Vettel. So he gets himself within the top 4 at the moment, behind the 2 Etiads and the GOM of Ricciardo. Here comes Leclerc now then. Across the line goes the Monegasque, and he's finished his qualifying session and remains in 8th with that lap. So he's run out of laps, and the lap's coming down very quickly just due to the length of this track. Hulkenberg on his final flying lap. Can he improve from 18th place? This will not be a good session if he's not able to. Across the line goes Hulkenberg, and no, he doesn't. A disappointing qualifying session for Hulkenberg, and it's only 18th for Nico Hulkenberg that time by. So not great for him as far as he is concerned. So that's that for him, really. So we look for somebody else's on that. A few more cars have come out on the track in this instance. Hartley and Giovinazzi. Hartley all the way down in 17th. This is sort of a home Grand Prix, considering we don't go to a track in New Zealand. So I think this is the closest Hartley can get to a home Grand Prix, I suppose, as Australia is next door to New Zealand. So, and both obviously, of course, are in Oceania. So it makes perfect sense, really. As now coming out of the right-hander goes Brendan Hartley, as he will soon approach the hairpin on the track. And so into the hairpin then goes the Kiwi. Giovinazzi behind him is also about to start a lap. Of course, this is Monster Grand Prix last weekend, being known as Monster Grand Prix. They will be rebranding to British Airways Racing next season. And of course, the team will be having a new lineup in the form of Scott Dixon, who's moving from Mars Grand Prix, and Rubens Barrichello. So they're getting a very experienced lineup next season. And next season is kind of the first proper season for Daniel Ricciardo. So he only just took over from Monster and all the assets they had. As very close there to contact as Bottas was coming out of the pit lane there. Then it comes out right on the racing line, as I pointed out a little earlier on. So Hartley lucky he didn't collect Bottas there that time by, but Giovinazzi's lap has now been compromised as a result of Bottas coming out of the pit lane. And Giovinazzi, well, he will have one more flying lap, I would think, after he's done this one. So I don't think it will be the end of the world for Giovinazzi as far as he's concerned, but we'll wait and see. And so Hartley now then just coming around the right-hander as he will soon approach the hairpin. And into the hairpin then goes Brendan Hartley. And he just goes out of that section of corner as he will now into the final few turns. Can Hartley get the car into the top 10 now then? Try and get up with teammate Felipe Massa. As now up towards the final turn then goes Hartley. In fact, he's coming into the pits. In fact, he already did a lap. I do apologise. That's his Giovinazzi. Apologies there then. So we'll try and see if anybody else is on a lap there then. Anybody further in front of these guys? No. So I think I saw Sainz there. So Sainz on a lap as he will now approach the hairpin. Looks like Alonso is being held up by Grosjean. So that's not exactly what he wants. Sainz now then into the left-hander, into the next 90-degree left-hander he goes. So Sainz will approach the final 3 turns on the track, and let's see what Carlos Sainz Jr. is able to do now then as he makes his way around the hairpin, heading down the pit straight and across the line goes Carlos Sainz Jr. Is this an improvement? No, it isn't. He remains 5th, but so far a good qualifying session at the moment for Shadow. Still 3rd for Alonso on his final flying lap. Grosjean starts a lap. Massa remains 10th, no improvement for him. On his final flying lap, of course. Verstappen goes up to 7th, so an improvement for Mad Max. Raikkonen comes out on the track to try and get his Suomi into the top 10 if he can. Bottas on a lap, currently 6th for the moment. Let's see if the Eldorado can improve as he makes his way into the final 2 turns on the track. As now Bottas makes his way around the final corner and onto the pit straight. He will go now then as the Finn will cross the line. Is this an improvement? It isn't. He remains 6th on his final flying lap. But so far a good lap as Ricciardo's lost his front wing. So the pole sitter has lost his front wing somewhere. Has it only just happened? Well, we're unable to see. But Ricciardo has lost his front wing. It looks like he may have made contact with Jones because Jones is wingless. So Ricciardo looked like he got impeded by Jones there. We don't know what the cause was. But Jones and Ricciardo look to have gotten involved in some form of contact during this qualifying session. And they'll have to make their way back to the pits. And that'll be Ricciardo done, in fact, because he won't have any more laps available to do a final flying lap. So he's got to hope that he can hold on to pole in his remaining 8 minutes or so in this session. Perez looked like he got held up on his lap and doesn't look like he's on an improvement on his final flying lap As a result, across the line goes Checo, and he remains 13th. So probably a little bit of potential taken away there from Sergio Perez. No improvement for Van Dorn. He's way off his personal best. Remains 17th on that lap. Verne starts a lap. As here comes Romain Grosjean coming out of the final turn, and he remains in 9th. No improvement for him on his final flying lap. So all the guys getting their final laps out of the way, really. As Raikkonen starts a lap himself, his final flying lap, as will Ocon. Perez coming back in this time by, and just seeing if anybody else is on a lap just in case. Raikkonen is, so we'll look at Kimi Raikkonen as he will soon approach the right-hander. Raikkonen looking to try and get the Suomi into the top 10 if he can, as he just goes around these 90-degree corners. Into the right he goes, just missing the curb on the outside as he makes his way around the flat-out left, right, and then into turn 9 he goes, using the curb on the outside as they go down the hill towards the flat-out right-hander, and down towards the hairpin we will go as they will approach the end of sector 2 in a little bit. Into the hairpin then goes Kimi Raikkonen, and now let's see what Kimi's able to do as he approaches the final 4 turns on the track. Can Raikkonen get the Suomi into the top 10, through the left, into the right, and then into the final corner goes Kimi Raikkonen now then. And let's see what the Flying Finn can do. The Iceman can do. Across the line goes Kimi Raikkonen, and he improves but remains 17th. So a disappointing qualifying session for Kimi Raikkonen. And a lot of work to do for the Finn tomorrow. Still 13th for Esteban Ocon. No improvement for him as a few more cars go out on the track at this time. As Verne goes back in this time by. He's 7th at the moment, so Verne doing a good job. He's beating Verstappen. And so Verne, on team by the cameras, has improved to go up into 7th place at the moment. So very good from him as far as he's concerned. A few more cars going out on the track at the moment. Giovinazzi now then about to start a lap in a little bit, as will Hamilton. And it's not exactly what he wants to see some traffic in front of him on his final flying lap as he looks to try and beat Ricciardo to pole in this session. Antonio Giovinazzi rounds the final turn. And onto the pit straight he goes now then as Giovinazzi starts his final flying lap, and in towards turns 1, 2 and 3 we go as Gio flicks the car in through these section of corners. Up towards turn number 4 we go. Gio flicking the car in, and now into the next left-hander we go as Hamilton looking like he's getting now held up by Gio as a result. Coming off the right-hander, using the curb on the outside as they make their way around the flat-out left, right, and then into turn 9 we go. Gio now then heads down the hill before approaching the flat-out right-hander on the track as he flicks the car in, using the curb on the outside. Hamilton, though, going to put a pass on him now then into the hairpin. He's not wasting any time being held up as he now pulls a pass into the right-hander there then. So Hamilton through as Giovinazzi has to let him go, but that's probably both of their laps compromised as a result. Hamilton now then round the left-hander as we have just over 5 minutes of this qualifying session remaining to determine the grid for tomorrow's Pacific Grand Prix. Round the final turn and onto the pit straight goes Lewis Hamilton, and let's see what the Brit's able to do. And he improves and goes fastest. So Hamilton, despite that little hold up, still goes fastest. He beats Ricciardo to the top of the timing sheet, and Giovinazzi remains 12th. As up into 6th goes Verstappen. A big improvement for Verstappen. P6 for the Dutchman. Hamilton goes fastest. He beats Ricciardo, and that front wing loss for Ricciardo might have just cost him pole position in front of his home fans. Has now cost him pole in front of his home turf, I should say. As Dixon now then rounds the final few turns. Vettel also on a lap, looking to see if he can get his EMR onto the front row. Dixon now then up towards the final turn as he now goes down the pit straight. Dixon now then will come across the line, and he remains 20 for that lap. Vettel looked like he got really held up and remains in 4th place. So a row 2 start then for Sebastian Vettel. And I think that is actually going to do it. Nobody else is waiting in pit lane. And I think that's going to do it then. So I think everybody's finishing quite early in this session, it must be said. And as a result, it seems that Lewis Hamilton has taken the final pole position of the Season 4 Championship. Hamilton has taken pole position for tomorrow's Pacific Grand Prix. And I think as well, he took pole at the Australian Grand Prix back in round 1. So it's 2 out of 2 pole positions in Australia this season for Lewis Hamilton, as Vettel just puts a pass on Dixon just for the hell of it, I think. Or then again, Dixon not letting him go, it appears. And Dixon still fending him off at this stage now then, but they're both coming into the pits anyway. They finished their qualifying runs. So now Vettel goes into the pit lane along with Scott Dixon. This is where Davy Coulthard, this is the same pit lane where Davy Coulthard had his blunder in 1995, where he locked the wheel and smashed it into the wall. And well, that was that really. That's pretty much ended Coulthard's chance of a second victory that season. It was also the race where Damon Hill won by 2 laps. As there we go then. I think that's everybody done. I think we're just going to cut back to Verline. Yes, we are. So what we're going to do is we're going to accelerate the time. And there we are then. So there you have it then, guys. That has been it for the qualifying session. And it is Lewis Hamilton who takes pole position for the final race of the season at the Pacific Grand Prix. A very close qualifying session, must be said. Only 3 thousandths separating the top 2 in the end, and a further 500ths separating first to third. So a very close qualifying session, must be said. So there you have it then, guys. After all of that, here is the grid for tomorrow's Pacific Grand Prix. Lewis Hamilton is on pole position with Daniel Ricciardo in second, Fernando Alonso third, Sebastian Vettel fourth, followed by Carlos Sainz Jr. fifth, Max Verstappen sixth, Valtteri Bottas seventh, Jean-Eric Vergne eighth, Charles Leclerc in ninth, Romain Grosjean in 10th, Felipe Massa 11th, Antonio Giovinazzi 12th, Esteban Ocon 13th, with Sergio Perez in 14th position. And if we scroll down the rest of the field, it is Brendan Hartley in 15th, Kevin Magnussen in 16th, Kimi Raikkonen a disappointing 17th, Stoffel Van Dorn 18th, Nico Hulkenberg a disappointing 19th, Scott Dixon in 20th, Ed Jones in 21st, and due to his qualifying ban, Pascal Wehrlein is in 22nd and last. So there you have it then, guys. That is the grid for tomorrow's Pacific Grand Prix. I hope you've enjoyed it. It has been a very exciting qualifying session, and we're hopefully going to be in for a very close final race of the season. But until then, guys, that has been it. I hope you enjoyed it. We will see you then, guys, tomorrow at a later time of 4:30 PM BST due to the German Grand Prix for Formula 1 for the 82-lap Pacific Grand Prix. And hopefully we'll be in for a very good finale and a great way to end the V10 era. So until then, guys, that has been it. I hope you enjoyed it. So thank you very much for watching. I'm in JWF1, and I'll see you guys tomorrow for the final race of the season. Until then, take care.